Starship's Super Heavy booster prepares to nuke South Texas. Polaris Dawn has begun their training to walk in space. Starlink for igloos is now a thing. And we finish with today's honorable mentions. I'm Kevin, and this is SpaceX in the News. After last week's 6-engine static fire, Ship 24 was hooked up to a crane on Saturday, and a temporary work platform was installed under its payload dispensing slot, where crews got to work on the supporting structure. Giggity. Then on Monday, the ship's nearby booster spun up all 33 of its Raptor 2s, a few groups at a time, but in close enough succession that it all appeared to happen at once. That could be how SpaceX will execute ignition when the time comes for launch, or it could just be how they're doing it for these first tests. And as this was going on, up the road at the high bay, the next Starship in line, S-25, was fully stacked. Then just moments ago, I was literally editing this video when Booster 7 performed another spin prime of several of its engines. But it looks like that's how they're going to end things for the week. Keep an eye on Lab Padres Starbase cams for more live coverage. As things continue to get super ethereal and progress towards a fully functional and reusable orbital super heavy lift vehicle, other entities in the space industry are preparing themselves for the opportunity Starship may one day provide. NASA released a paper outlining some HLS Starship designs for Artemis 3, as well as near-term and future milestones for HLS and the Artemis program in general. Like always, there's a link provided below for those of you who wish to read the 7-page document yourself, but one thing I want to point out is how large the storage depot is, represented here in the diagram. It's almost as big as the booster. When that long, shiny shaft powers on, the vibration alone will tickle your fancy. It arouses my interest, even though I'll never be allowed to ride it. Here's another picture from the document. It just illustrates the plan currently in place to take astronauts to the moon for Artemis 3. Next slide, please. During a panel at this year's World Satellite Business Week conference, President of Northrop Grumman Space Logistics, Rob Haig, who currently has an agreement with SpaceX to launch robotic spacecraft that extends the life of satellites in orbit, said Starship is going to be an awesome capability, but also told CNBC afterward that there's still a lot of work to do and they need to see a mature launch vehicle. The Polaris Dawn team began training for SpaceX's first EVA on Monday, which will also be the world's first spacewalk done by a private crew. Of course, the point of the mission in the EVA is to help SpaceX prepare for Starship's mission to Mars. The Polaris program will consist of 3 flights, Dawn being the first and is expected to launch later this year, followed by a second Dragon mission and culminating in the first crewed Starship mission to Earth orbit. We'll call it Polaris Dusk. Would you like to know more? Check out my interview with mission pilot Scott Poteet, linked above, or if you're watching on Rumble, I'll comment the link below. On Saturday night, SpaceX launched what Elon called one of our most complex missions. 34 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit, as well as Space Mobile's Blue Walker 3 satellite. Complex in that the upper stage MVAC had to perform 4 burns to get all payloads deployed, and a record-breaking 5th burn to deorbit itself. And the first stage booster flew for a record-breaking 14th time, surviving another drone ship landing on a shortfall of gravitas bobbing on the Atlantic. At night. Do you think you could throw a dart from space with a blindfold on and hit a floating bullseye? Doubt it. Could you do it 14 times? No, you couldn't, because you failed out of Magic Cam. But Elon, they made him the Dean. That's why he gets all the ladies and you don't, which is also why he has a full litter of kids. It's cock magic.
Let cock magic be done by the professionals.
After 3 delays due to weather, SpaceX is poised to make a 4th attempt at launching another flock of Starlinks, 54 of them, from Slick 40 at the Cape tonight. But weather once again is not in their favor. If she does lift her fat ass off the pad, we'll be watching it live on Rumble. Starlink Business, which is a more capable and more expensive broadband service for, you guessed it, businesses, is now an option for some residential customers. For an extra 1,900 coins, you too can purchase a large high-performance user terminal for your home so you can obtain even faster internet speeds. And guess what?
Hey Lazo, guess what?
What?
The monthly subscription fee is the same $110 whether you purchase this upgrade or stick with the standard plan. On their fact page, SpaceX writes the high-performance package is best for areas of hot weather or snow, and that the upgraded dish has a better snow melt capacity. And speaking of snow, Starlink is now available on all 7 continents. The polar sats are being tested by USAP scientists in Antarctica, who can now simply stream documentaries on penguins instead of going outside to play with them. They bite. SpaceX has finally appealed the FCC's decision to block the company's $885 million broadband funding that I mentioned a couple times in recent videos, calling the FCC's reversal of the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund grossly unfair and flawed as a matter of both law and policy in their filing. Although one of the commissioners has already come out in support of SpaceX, this may not change anything, but could lead to more work for lawyers through lawsuits. The sponsor for today's video is My Patriot Supply. Over the past 14-15 months, we discussed several reasons to have an emergency food kit at home. Supply chain issues, natural disasters, man-made disasters, power outages, economic collapse, but inflation being the most prevalent issue of our time. However, one thing I haven't mentioned until now is something called shrinkflation. And yes, it's a real term. But what is it? Well, I went to the store a couple weeks ago and purchased some popsicles, as I do, because I'm 6, and immediately my spidey senses began to tingle. Something just didn't look right. They're the same brand I always got, but their growth looked stunted. So when I got home, I compared them to one of the old ones I still had in my freezer, and what do you know? Gasp, my suspicions were justified. And not only was there less sickle, but I paid more for it, gersh darn it. That's what shrinkflation is. It's the unlotioned reach around consumers get while taking it from behind by inflation. You're paying more for less. It's another obvious sign of a terrible economy. And yeah, it's popsicles, but it's not just popsicles. Shrinkflation means more air is pumped into snack bags. Meat gets packaged by the ounce instead of by the pound. But at the same time, prices either stay the same or even increase. Meanwhile, membership fees are still going up. Sam's Club just raised theirs a few weeks ago. And the food index continued to climb by 0.8% in August. So check out preparewithspace.com and secure your emergency food kit before food becomes a collector's item. If you've been holding off, seriously don't wait any longer, because the best deal that My Patriot Supply has had in 3 years could end at any time. Like, it could end today. I got an email last night saying it was gonna end last night, but I checked the website today and it's still running. So if you're quick about it, you still may be able to receive $250 off a 3-month emergency food kit. I took advantage myself and just purchased more for my family because in the military, they taught us that failing to prepare means you're preparing to fail. Doggo's not included. Each kit contains a wide variety of these meals that last for 25 years and provide over 2,000 calories per day. That's preparewithspace.com. But now it's time for today's super explosive honorable mentions. On Monday, Blue Origin launched their first uncrewed New Shepard suborbital rocket in more than a year from West Texas. And as I guess luck would have it, if you want to call it luck, it was a good thing it was uncrewed, because shortly after liftoff, NS-23's booster began to sputter and tilt during this 9th flight, triggering the capsule's escape system. The capsule, carrying dozens of payloads, popped shoots brah, which is the best part anyway in everyone's opinion, and poofed down in the dust. The booster wasn't so lucky, impacting with the ground. It's still too early to learn what the cause of the mishap was, but the FAA will oversee the investigation. No injuries were reported. The following day, Blue Origin's orbital reef partner, Sierra Space, announced that they have successfully completed their first of 2 ultimate burst pressure tests for their large inflatable flexible environment habitat at NASA's Johnson Space Center. This is what the company is expecting to use on their commercial space station, which we featured in previous episodes. During this first test, the team was hoping to get the HAB to a pressure of 182.4 psi before popping it like a pimple. But the prototype exceeded their safety requirement and made it to 192 psi. Well, that's all for this one. Thanks for stopping by. A huge thank you goes out to my supporters backing the channel, as well as those of you who, leave a thank you tip in the comments, or a super chat, or a Rumble rant, or buy merch, or even support our sponsors. That's all very much appreciated. But regardless, have a nominal weekend. Until next time, Godspeed.